How to make a pattern from a store-bought teddy bear. Hi. My next project that I'm going to be working on are 4 teddy bears made from fur. So the customer approached me and she had a particular kind of teddy bear that she wanted. She has it in her possession, and I did try to show her different types of patterns and combinations of patterns, but she really wanted that particular bear. So I went on eBay and I actually found the bear and I purchased it, and now I've been making templates from the bear. And I really should have started this at the beginning, but I didn't really even think about it. But here is the bear already kind of taken apart, and I am slowly opening up the seam allowances and pulling the parts out to make patterns. So here is the pattern. So what I'm doing is, as the bear is still together, I am marking registration marks so I know exactly where I'm going to match my points. I'm also labeling letters on each piece so I know A goes on to B and C goes on to D, as I have here. And on the pattern, what I do is I stretch each individual piece and I'm taping it onto just a plain piece of paper. And then what I'm going to do with this after is I'm going to put it on my printer and then cut out the shapes and then use freezer paper to make the actual sturdy templates. With that, I already have my registration marks on my template. Now, because I have the original bear, I don't have to do anything in reverse because I'm going to use each piece as a separate piece instead of doing reverse. So right now I have, this is the head piece, the ears, the front and the back, and this is going to be used for the lining. So the maroon parts are going to be lining. Makes it easy for me. Then we have the mouth, and this was on the inside of the mouth, and the tail end I already took off, and this is the side head pieces. So what I already did, now I'm working on the arm. So once I remove this part, let me come down on here so you can see a little bit better. So what I did here is I've been using my green marker pen wherever there is a dart. So when I remove this piece, I'm going to also open up the dart, and I have black mark here, and when you flip it over, the marks are on the opposite side. I also have registration marks where the paw pads come together. And I'm not going to label this yet because I think the way I'm going to want to do it is, here's the back piece. I'm going to put a piece of Scotch tape on there and label that too. And here's the front piece. So I'm probably going to label the front piece E, F, G, and H, and then do the extremities as different letters. But I'll show you how really kind of easy it is just to mark it. So I'm going to take a piece of Scotch tape And let's say I want this one to be CDE. I put E on the piece of tape. And now I'm going to make another one. This is going to be my F side. And I could write that on the teddy bear itself, but it ends up becoming, what's the word? Oh, all of a sudden I can't think. Anyway, it gets too messy, you can't read it. But anyway, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a line here and a line here. And I just mark them. And then I'm going to mark the direction of the fabric. So now I have all my markings for this part. But notice that there are lots of things that it has to be lined up with, as well as this arm piece right here. Alright, so I'm going to just leave that there for now. And I would go around the whole piece doing the same thing, making like little registration marks throughout the item. So when I cut out the pieces, I'll know where everything goes and how to sew it together. And because the back is two separate pieces, I'm also going to put tape on there. EF. So I'm going to make this G and H. And then I would make those registration marks as well. On this part, I'm drawing an area where I'm going to have an opening. It's also the area that I'm going to put my label in. And from here, all I have to do is find the thread. Oh, look at what a mess I made. All I have to do is find the thread, pull out the thread, and the pattern pieces come apart. So when I'm looking at the seam, I'm going to just take the tip of my scissor and just get it right underneath where it connects and try to make just a tiny little hole, and then I could go in with my scissor and just work on each individual strand. It's hard to pull them all out because you end up getting the fiber of the fur, of the faux fur. So I find it just easier just to snip the actual thread. Okay. So these are the pieces of my paw, my arm actually. Here's the paw. And I'm going to take my tape and I'm going to Make sure that the edges are completely flat. I forgot to open this dart. Perfect. Okay, so what I marked off was where the dart was. I put an arm on there, upper arm, the direction of the fur, the pad and the upper arm. And when I print this out, obviously I'm not going to use the bottom, but I have the words written in here, so that's perfect. And this is arm K. Okay, so I deconstructed the whole bear. I had 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 sheets of pieces. I put them in my printer and I copied them. So now I have the exact size that I need. All my markings are there. And what I'm going to do with these pieces is I am going to cut each one out, and I'm going to layer them with freezer paper so I have a nice sturdy template, and I have a separate video on how to make freezer paper templates. 3 of the bears I made at 80%, 1 of the bears I made at 100%. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take these seam allowance guides, which I actually 3D printed, and I'm going to use the 1/4 inch one, because what I'm going to do is, this is the exact seam, but I want to have a lot of space, so I'm going to add a 1/4 inch all the way around. So this way, after I sew it, I'll have enough left over on the sides that I could trim it down. So I just use my pencil and I just trace along the edge. I keep the circle close. Ignore my daughter. She's talking to the dog. And that's what it looks like when it's done. So in the end, I ended up with 15 template pieces using the reverse sides because there were just too many pieces to deal with. Here they are laid out, all cut out in the fur, and while they are put together. Come visit us at dinahsquilts.com.